Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, everyone.
Get breaking news,
Blockbuster trade,
highlights, and instant reactions.
The largest final round comeback in Tour Championship history. We're down to the final four.
I just want to take time to analyze what we see in this greatness.
Certainly a tight contest going into the final minutes.
big news coming out of the NFL today.
Talk winners and losers with a guy who's already a big winner.
CBS Sports HQ. It's all sports, all day long.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, everyone.
Get breaking news,
Blockbuster trade,
highlights, and instant reactions.
The largest final round comeback in Tour Championship history. We're down to the final four.
I just want to take time to analyze what we see in this greatness.
Certainly a tight contest going into the final minutes.
big news coming out of the NFL today.
Talk winners and losers with a guy who's already a big winner.
CBS Sports HQ. It's all sports, all day long.
Meanwhile, on Paramount Mountain.
Okay, we have the northern face, the southern face, and...
the Sylvester Stallone face. Of course.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Is that Dad? Yeah.
No, don't sneeze.
Oh, dear God, no.
Hold it.
Hold it.
Don't do it. No. Ha! Gesundheit. Well, thank you. You're welcome.
Our coverage of the 87th Masters is presented by Mercedes-Benz. The vehicles are electric. The feeling is all Mercedes. 18 holes behind us and a heck of a week ahead. The numbers and the names equally outstanding at the 87th playing of the Masters. 65, the pace car, driven by the likes of Hovland, Rahm, and Koepka. Plenty of golf to be played, but those on page 2 and beyond, chasing both leaders and history. Over the last 17 years, only twice has a player come from outside the top 10 after round 1 and donned the green jacket. Both were named Tiger Woods. It is our privilege to take you out to Augusta National, where Kyle Porter and Doug Bell find themselves in the midst of it all. Gentlemen, all-time week coming into form if Mother Nature cooperates to some extent. We'll get there in a moment, but let's start at the top of that leaderboard. Hovland, Rahm, Koepka, all end at the desired destination, but they arrive there in vastly different ways. I think it can be said, KP, which of that grouping wowed you most here over the first 18 holes?
Well, it really was an extraordinary first round. You don't see a leaderboard like this early on in major championships, and certainly not usually at the Masters. You know, it's almost all stars and superstars here at the top. The guy for me, Joe, was Brooks Koepka. You know, he came into this week with question marks, I think is fair. You know, he wins Live Orlando last week, but what does that mean? It's hard to have. It's hard to provide context for something like that we're not totally sure what it means yet. And so I asked him afterwards, Joe, you know, everybody watched the Full Swing, the Netflix documentary, where he was kind of, I mean, it was a little existential, just the way he sort of was like acting about Scottie Scheffler winning and about his 75-75 performance last year. I said, what changed year over year? You know, what's different from last year to this year? And he said, I'm just healthy. He said, that's it. He said, there's a lot of stuff that you didn't see in that Netflix documentary. And so I was like, okay, what didn't we see, Brooks? Tell me about it. And he was just alluding to the fact that he is seemingly healthier this time this year, at least more so than he was this time last year. Now, Koepka said he's been healthy. He said he's been not healthy a lot of times over the course of his career. I think we've seen that change quite a bit, kind of flip-flop back and forth. So I think it remains to be seen whether he can keep this up. His record, his scoring at Augusta National over the course of his career, it's good, but it's not great. This is, I think, only the second time he's been better than 69. So I'm very curious, Joe, to see, you know, can this continue throughout the week with a bunch of other horses either tied with him or just behind him?
Yeah, I tell you, Kyle and Joe, I'm impressed by Jon Rahm. Here's a guy who opens today with a double bogey, a 4-putt. When was the last time Jon Rahm had a 4-putt? And then over the next 17 holes, he goes 9 under par to kind of reestablish himself as the guy, right? Because it's been a 7-week lull since he was so impressive at the Genesis, winning at Riviera. But today, he dominated a golf course that was there for the taking. No wind. There's never rough. Hole locations were very gettable today. And Jon Rahm absolutely dominated Augusta National. So I'm looking forward to what the next few days holds for the big Spaniard. You know, during the practice round, guys, I walked with them playing with Jose Maria Olazabal and Sergio Garcia. Of course, those two gentlemen have won green jackets, and the late Seve Ballesteros won 3. Rahm's trying to join that foursome, and I think today is what he had to do. Maybe that first hole was a wake-up call, guys, like a cold shower, because after hole number 1, he was dominant, Jon Rahm.
We likened it to some pregame smelling salts. Rahm was out there and getting it beyond that first hole. Of those guys sitting at 65, none have a green jacket. 2 are major champions prior. One projects himself as the dude, the other plays like the dude, and then there's the mild-mannered Viktor Hovland, who deserves a word here as well. I guess my question here, Doug, would be, following this first round 65, do you see Hovland ready for the moment? Does he have the mind and the stomach, let's say? We know he has the game, but does he have those other 2 intangibles for what's to come the rest of the week?
Well, Joe, we shall see, because today was one of those days where he missed only 2 fairways, missed only 2 greens, and he got up and down from some tough spots, and that's kind of been his bugaboo, right? The short game. I know he's been working on it, but today was a near flawless performance for Viktor Hovland, and that's either going to set him in a good spot for the rest of the week, or maybe today was the pinnacle and it's downhill after that. I will say this, though, playing with Tiger and Xander, but that Tiger gallery, I thought Viktor handled it with aplomb. I mean, he seemingly enjoyed himself out there.
Yeah, he did. I've always thought his bugaboo, Doug, was actually his wardrobe. It has been a question question mark over the course of his career, and definitely today. Joe, I talked to somebody who actually watched him warm up with his short game today and said, I don't know, man. He kind of looked like one of us with the wedges out there. So I think actually going out and shooting 65 was, I don't know if it's a surprise, because you can ball strike your way around this place and not necessarily need to be creative with your short game if you're not in some difficult positions. The problem that I see, Joe, you're going to find yourself in some difficult positions over the next 54 holes. Does the short game hold up under pressure in the heat of the moment at Augusta National with the Masters on the line? I think that's a big question mark. But I will say his experience of the Open Championship last year, Doug, playing in that final pairing with Rory, I don't think that's nothing. I think that's a valuable thing to sort of take into the rest of this week. And the more you can kind of feel what that feels like to be where the air gets a little bit thinner, where it's a little bit harder to breathe, I think the better for these guys trying to chase down a major championship.
Reports from the grounds that if you get close enough to that polo, you can actually smell the azaleas. Guys, here, the rub for those three in the lead. Since 1981, just 4 first-round leaders or co-leaders have gone on to win. We'll see how it all plays out. You mentioned the horses, and Doug, you mentioned Tiger. So let's go there next. The 5-time champion didn't comport himself well here. 2 over 74, struggled on approach, most notably. Red numbers are going to be required tomorrow to see the weekend cut, tentatively shaping up around 1 over. Doug, he said the leg did not feel good. The back did not appear to give him any more ailment than we've seen in recent appearances. Where did you see the issues here on Thursday for Tiger, Doug?
Well, Joe, he also said he was disappointed he didn't go low because he was watching that scoreboard and he saw all the low scores, and so in that regard he was disappointed. But physically, Joe, when you see him in person, this is a broken down athlete. I mean, he struggled getting from the practice area to the clubhouse to the first tee, and then as he limped down that first fairway, it's almost like, oh my gosh. And then of course he had those bogeys at 3, 5, and 7, and it appeared it was going to be a very ugly day. He grinded it out like he always does, but grabbed his back at number 11, hit an awkward shot out of the bunker and kind of jostled a little bit and limped out of the bunker there at 18. So I think he's going to have to do a lot of rehab tonight, and his team is going to have to kind of put him back together, however they do it, with tape or whatever, just to see if he can go out and play tomorrow. I still think he's going to make the cut, but he is going to limp home. There's no doubt about it.
Duct tape and gum and baling wire holding the leg together. I followed Tiger for a while on Thursday, Joe, and it was actually the part of his round that was the best. It was 15-16. He makes a long putt for 4 on 15, hits a great shot into 16 for 2. I thought early on it was actually his putting that let him down. Front 9, 3 bogeys, some 3 putts in there. And now some of that's putting, some of it's putting yourself in the wrong spot. At a place like Augusta National, it's very difficult. You can hit a green and be absolutely just in a horrific spot. So I think there was some approach play issues as well. But, I think he's hitting the ball about like we thought. I think we thought he'd be kind of around that cut line like he was last year. I think that's just sort of who he is and what he is at this stage of his career. So hopefully he can make it to the weekend and put together another 4 rounds at Augusta National.
Yeah, we talk about it in the lead-up, his presence more than we could even ask for, but then we see him in the moment, and we always seem to want more. Guys, we've been radar watching what feels like for the last 2 weeks now, and it looks like it could be a start-and-stop affair from here on in. KP, if it does get soft out there and we do get the elements in the days to come, does that bring more names into the equation, or could Sunday's leaderboard look like the one we're looking at right now?
I think it probably brings a few more names in. Yeah. You always talk about when it's fast and firm, it's the best ball strikers. And I think when it gets softer, you might get, what Jon Rahm has referred to in the past as a putting contest. So that could happen. You could see some guys from outside that top 10. You reference that stat. Nobody outside the top 10 after the first round has won the Masters since 2005, other than Tiger Woods, who did it in 2005 and 2019. So it's just a rarity for anybody to come from outside that top 10. The bigger issue, Joe, is going to be the guys that are inside the top 10. How does somebody who's T17 or T30 right now jump into that group? Because you've got Rahm, you've got Koepka, you've got Hovland, you've got Scottie Scheffler, who shot 68 on Thursday. It was about as easy as 68 as you can imagine. I think he was second in the field in strokes gained tee to green, behind only Jon Rahm. And Scheffler just, man, he puts easy 68s together, which is how you win major championships. It's certainly not as easy as he makes it look. But everybody outside that top 10, whatever happens with the weather, they've got more of a Scottie Scheffler problem than they have a weather problem.
Well, those top 3 guys have the early-late rotation there, and the weather's supposed to come in late on Friday, so we shall see. Again, I don't think it's going to rain hard enough to mess things up for these guys, and I still see Rahm and Koepka and even Viktor Hovland, unless he gets crazy with his irons and starts putting it in awkward spots like Kyle was talking about. I still see those guys playing well and being there near the top heading into the weekend, even with weather kind of iffy.
Yeah, Koepka does have the earliest of the trio at the top of the leaderboard when we're talking about Friday tee times. It's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch it play out. Let's just hope we get to watch it play out. Fellas, great work as always. Enjoy the time there at Augusta. And don't forget, for all the coverage, the iconic green jacket handed out once again. You can watch it all come to pass. 3rd and 4th round coverage of the Masters on CBS and streaming live on Paramount Plus. Coverage Saturday beginning at 3 p.m. Eastern, followed by final round coverage on Sunday, 2 Eastern time. We'll have post-round reaction right here on CBS Sports HQ. And there is but only one place to be for all of your tour needs. That's with our team on the First Cut podcast, round by round, week by week. Our team led by Kyle Porter, Rick Gehman, bringing you all of the latest on the tour you love. Download, subscribe, and enjoy the First Cut podcast. And coming your way next, it's the First Cut Takeover. Our guys from Augusta to Vegas, the numbers, the words, the stories. It'll all be broken down on a can't-miss podcast coming your way next on CBS Sports HQ.
Welcome into the First Cut Podcast, round one recap for this week's Masters, joined by Mark Immelman and Kyle Porter. Mark, we'll start here with you. Welcome. Big day, big week.
Yeah, big day, big week. The weather today was perfect. The golf course was there, in my opinion, to be had, but some of the hole locations were sort of treacherous, some, and if you hit poor shots, they were going to trip you up. But if you played well, it was there. And certainly I felt like the guys later in the afternoon had the best time of it. But the winds we were expecting laid down a little bit, so you had to make hay today. There was no doubt about that.
Kyle Porter is here. KP, you are actually there, my friend. I hope you brought some layers, because I think that was the best of it that we got on Thursday.
Yeah, it for sure was. I don't know who allowed me out here to talk about the Masters in front of the par 3 course, but it's a ton of fun, and today was great. You know, it was actually very, very hot out here for most of the day, and I agree with Mark. You know, the scoring average, I have it written down, it's the lowest since... It's the second lowest of the last 6 years in terms of first-round scoring average. The only one lower was 2020, which obviously was very different conditions. So I think that's the best scoring day that we'll probably see throughout the week.
Well, 3 big names at the top of the leaderboard, all carding 65s on this Thursday. Let's start with our beautiful boy, Mark. Viktor Hovland goes out and shoots a bogey.
Hold on.
What? You don't like that?
The real beautiful boy is Jordan.
Not anymore. Not until okay. You are leading the Masters with a 7 under 65. That's how you become our beautiful boy, who is Viktor Hovland. And Mark, he was pretty stout on this Thursday. He made an eagle early in his round on number 2. He got into a couple of awkward spots, but was able to extract himself with some savvy ups and downs. And Viktor now putting himself in contention here right out of the gate.
He certainly did. And look, I love Viktor just like you do. He's one of the great guys on tour. But when you wear a golf shirt like that, you better shoot 7 under 65 to back that thing up. And what he did so well is a continuation of what he's done early in the season. He's done some work on the golf swing with Joe Mayo. They've eliminated the left miss largely. So he's got that fade shot he can go to. And when you can dial and sort of set up a one-directional miss, especially around this place where a lot of the trouble is down the left-hand side, you can play some offense, and Viktor certainly did. And he made the saves like you referenced when he was in trouble, and he made some long putts when he needed to. So it was a really sound day, but the truth of it to me is what I saw of Viktor, he didn't look stressed at all. And always at the Masters, you're playing with this level of uncomfortability, and he looked as comfortable as anyone in a very uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, it's funny, Rick. I think the No Lane Up boys tweeted I think it's the Godfather meme. They massacred our boy with the Jay Lindenberg gear. It looked like they massacred an azalea bush to get that shirt into production. So I don't know what was going on there. But listen, I think the thing with Hovland is he can ball strike his way around here to the tune of 65, and he did. But the problem is I talked to somebody today who watched him warm up like with his short game, and he was like, I don't know what he was trying to do, but it was not good. Like, he looked like one of us trying to chip out there. And there's going to be a moment this week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whenever it is, where he gets himself into multiple just bad spots on the course and needs to get up and down. And those are the moments that I think are going to be the most fascinating for Hovland, because it's like, what do you have right here? There was a clip of him, was it last year, Ray? Maybe 2 years ago, chipping at Augusta, and he was like, it did look like one of us. This is a very difficult place to chip, as I'm sure Mark can elaborate on. But I'm really interested to see how that goes for him. But I do think the experience of playing in the final round with Rory at the Open last year is not. I think that's valuable. I think that's a real thing, and I think he'll benefit. You don't carry that momentum or anything like that, but he'll benefit from, you hear guys talk all the time, what did that feel like? Do you know what that feels like? And Hovland kind of does now, and he will even more so if he continues playing like this.
Also, no stranger to Butler Cabin, sat next to Tiger Woods as low amateur in 2019. Jon Rahm, Mark, got off to A pretty slow start, smacked in the face with a 4-putt on number 1, ends up making double, gets both of those back immediately at 2 and 3, and then turns in to Jon Rahm, shoots a 65. He was one of the big 3 that everybody was talking about before this event started, and he certainly proved it on this Thursday.
He did, and kudos to him for the quick bounce back after that double you referenced. But for me, people will talk about the Augusta National and they'll say it's a second shot golf course, which it is. But the key to making it a second shot golf course is to play from the fairway. And he made a change to the driver. He added a degree of loft to the face, the way they bent it. So he's got a little bit more spin on the golf ball, which makes the ball easier to curve. So that two-sided miss, that pull option cut he had going on for the last few weeks, which had him sort of playing defense with the approach shots a bit, that has sort of gone away because he drove the ball well. He played from the lion's share of the fairways. That allowed him to play offense. KP can speak to how good this guy is with the irons because Kyle likes what Jon Rahm does. And today he just looked bulletproof. He honestly did. He looked like the Jon Rahm who showed up at the beginning of 2023 and looked just downright unbeatable. And to open with 65, right now he's cutting a pretty ominous-looking figure because the game does look complete.
It does. I think Jon Rahm doesn't get enough credit for. I don't know if this is the right term, but just his ability mentally. Like he gets a lot of flack for his emotions and like being out of control and all that stuff. Mentally, he's pretty tough. At major championships, how many times have we seen this? Oh, he made double. Oh, he bounced back with 3 birdies in his next 6 holes, in his next 7 holes, whatever it is. He seems to do that a lot at big boy tournaments. And now he didn't play great at the majors last year, and he's had stretches where he's kind of been down a little bit. But I thought his mental ability to bounce back from a 6 at the first hole, especially coming in with honestly not really any momentum over the last month. He had a WD. He was lost 5 down to Billy Horschel at match play. There wasn't a lot of juice coming in. You make a 6 at 1, and that's a little jarring off the top. You start the Masters with a 6, and then he plays the next 17 and 59, and you're like, this is unbelievable. So I want to give him credit for his ability to mentally kind of bounce back from some stuff, because I don't know if he always gets physically. He gets all the credit for his giftedness and his work ethic and all that, but I think mentally there's actually some real fortitude there that he doesn't often get credit for.
Yeah, drove it beautifully. Second in strokes gained off the tee this Thursday, too. Gordon Sargent, clipped by the Vanderbilt sophomore. But a 65 for Rahm, our third 65 of the day, Mark. 1, Brooks Koepka. Kyle talks about fortitude at major championships. The mentals of Brooks Koepka at major championships may be second to none. I count 1 bad swing. Yanked it left on 13, ends up making a bogey there. Otherwise, he was pretty spotless around Augusta National.
He was, and he had that Brooks Koepka about him again, where the Brooks is really, I don't care who you are, where we're playing, it's golf, and I'm going to just out-muscle you. And the thing that was the most impressive to me was how fit and healthy he did look. He'd been telling us for the longest time that, the body is not good, the knee's not there, I can't support my golf swing enough. But here of late, we've heard him saying, look, I feel good. I feel 100% again. And truth is, Brooks looked 100%. And with respect, color me surprised. I was like, all right, I'm keen to see how it is coming in here because the pressure level here is infinitely different to where he has been playing. But he made putts that mattered. He had shots that meant something. And he looked like he was right back in that major championship saddle. And I was like just fobbing people off, doing his thing, hitting balls hard in the fairway. And he played the game, cobbled together to me a really sound day. And it was good to see. And I, again, will admit that I was somewhat surprised to see it. But, man, did he look good.
Yeah, I was surprised, too. I was actually surprised, Rick. This is only his second round at Augusta National better than 69 ever. He had a 66 before, I believe. That might have been in 2019 when he finished T2. And then 65 today. I asked him afterward in the presser because I was curious about, think about a year ago when the Netflix deal came out in February, I guess. But it was showing what happened a year ago when he's got this existential, should I even play golf thing, anymore going on. And you know, Scottie Scheffler's going on to win the Masters, and it was like this whole, like, just dramatic, and you're like, man, what is going on with Koepka? You know, that was just 2 months ago when that episode came out. And I asked him, like, what's the difference between now, or between, you know, a year ago and right now? And he said it's the injury thing. He said he's just healthy. He said he's almost back to where he was prior to anything happening, any of the, like, knee stuff going on. And so you hear that, and I'm like, I want to believe that, because I think majors are just more interesting when Koepka's involved. He's just such a fascinating, historically great character in the game of golf. But he's said a lot of things, Rick, and you've been on this. He's said a lot of stuff over the years about his knee, about his injuries, up, down, good, bad. And you can't ever, like, pin him down on it. It always seems like the story's not changing, but there's just always like, oh, well, this, then that. And so I'm like halfway bought into the 65 and him kind of running the field here. And then halfway, I kind of want to see something else on Friday, just because of the injury history and because he hasn't been all that great at Augusta National over the course of his career.
Yeah, Brooks Koepka, not necessarily always the most reliable narrator out there. We got to part ways with KP here shortly, so I want to bounce this one right back to you, Kyle. I think you got a chance to follow Tiger Woods around the golf course today. It was a laborious 74 that looked like rust out of the gate. He got a couple of birdies back on 15 and 16 before drawing an awkward stance on 18 in the fairway, which led to another bogey. He's got a little bit of work to do if he wants to be around for the weekend.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give you two more notes after Tiger also before I get out of here. But I think on Tiger, it kind of is what we thought it would be, right? I don't know that this is any different than we were kind of all talking about on Tuesday when we did the First Cut podcast. It was cool. I was on 15. He makes a 4 on 15, makes a long birdie putt there. And then 16, he hits one tight and makes a birdie there. So birdie to kind of get it back to something respectable. But he was, it was really hot out here, and he was laboring. And this is just, I said this last year, Rick, and people just rip apart anything when it comes to Tiger, but there's not really a scenario in which the leg, the trajectory is not that it gets better. It's that it maybe stays the same. Maybe the pain's less for 2 days, and then it's harder for a day. It's not going to be a linear trajectory. So I think this just is what it is, and I think what that means, as people are starting to sort of come to grips with, is he's not going to win another major championship, and that's okay. Like, that's an okay thing. So that was kind of my takeaway a little bit from his first round on Thursday. Can I give you my two other notes from round one?
Yeah, absolutely. Fire away.
Okay, real quick. Gordon Sargent, the amateur, astonishing. I mean, I watched him with Zach Johnson and Jason. I know he shot, 76. I don't know what it was. He hit a ball on 3 that the speed and the transition from the top, it was just like, I don't know what I'm watching here. And then he makes 7 from like 30 feet away from the green. So the short game was also like, I don't know what I'm watching here. And then the other thing is Scottie Scheffler's going to win 68 on Thursday. I tweeted this out, but the Spieth trying to shoot 68, it looks like, the Cirque du Soleil out here at Augusta National, and Scottie shooting 68. It looks like just the easiest thing in the world. It's not easy. It's extraordinarily difficult to shoot 68 at Augusta National, even on a day where the scoring average is down just a little from what it normally is. And it's just, he makes his 68s look so easy. I think it's going to be him and Rahm on the weekend. Those have been the two best guys this year. It would be very fitting, I think, if the two best guys so far in 2023 coming in duked it out over the last 2 or 3 days at Augusta.
Yeah, it certainly feels like we are trending in that direction. We are going to say goodbye, Kyle Porter. Always a pleasure chatting with you. Mark Immelman and I will continue this conversation on the other side. Welcome back to the First Cut podcast. Rick Gehman here with Mark Immelman. Mark, let's continue this conversation from Thursday at Augusta National. Tiger Woods, obviously one of the major storylines coming into the week. It was a 2 over 74. A lot of limping, a lot of wiping sweat off the brow. What did you see from Tiger, and what's he going to have to do to continue this quest into the weekend?
Well, the reality of it is, to me, Rick, and everyone's talked about this, but it was exposed today because Augusta National is a very, very difficult walk. You're playing from the 18 even lies, the 18 flat lies in this golf course, and those are the 18 tee shots you have. Otherwise, you go downhill, sidehill, uphill. You're walking on inclines, so there's a lot of stress on your lower part of your legs, your glutes, your ankles, and such. And I'm going to sound maybe a little medical in all of this, but with all of the stuff is going on in that ankle, that bad ankle that he had surgically repaired, miraculously so, the body's defense to stress is inflammation. And inflammation brings pain. Then after the round, he's got to go and sit in ice baths and have treatment and stuff for hours on end. He said so to reduce inflammation. But that starts to build up, right? So after today, I'm sure with the heat, with the walk, with the stress of the golf swing, there's a whole bunch of inflammation, so he's in pain. And honestly, the truth of that is that's going to continue to build. So for him to make the weekend, he's going to have to do Tiger stuff. He's hitting it fine. He said so. I've watched him practice in preparation. The speed was there. The iron game, it looked controlled and such. The short game was a little ragged today, but that's to be expected. These are demanding greens. They're fast. It's a major championship, and he's been likely to run if he was a racehorse. But my main concern is the walking, and it came to fruition today. So I'd think he'd be pulling rabbits out of hats to find himself some weekend action because it's just going to be grueling from year on end.
That 2 over 74 was losing about a stroke and a half to the field, so he's got to make up a little bit of ground on Friday. Our defending champion, another guy who was present at that champions dinner on Tuesday night, Scottie Scheffler, shot a 4 under 68. And Mark, we talk about this all the time. That was the worst round he could have shot. That was the worst score he could have put together because Scottie was burning edges left and right. He made 0 putts and is still just 3 shots off the lead.
He just looks so complete right now. And I'm going to sound like the old guy on the podcast and reference Bob Jones, okay? And Bob Jones was quoted, highly quotable, but said that he felt like golf was a game played on a 5-inch fairway. That space in between your ears. And, you know, golfers will reference that as if it's the 15th club. And Scottie's 15th club is working better than the 14th club right now, which is the putter. And the way he's responding to some disappointment, the way he's responding to good shots, the way he's just navigating his way around this golf course, looks like he's figured out the conundrum. And more importantly, looks like he's figured out Scottie Scheffler, and then add to that the fact that this is a marathon. He knows what the drill is. He's won one of these before. He's coming in here on rampant form. And it just looks like he's completely cool with the fact that he knows if he does 68 4 times, he's likely winning. If he does 68 and a few 69s, he'll be contending, and we know he can finish. So he just looks so okay with everything right now. And I made a point to a function I did a couple nights ago with Larry Myers, and they asked about Scottie Scheffler. And my response was this. I was like, you know, everyone wants to be a leading man, but not everyone can be a leading man because when the spotlights are on, the pressure is up and stuff becomes a little more heightened and your body performs differently. Scottie doesn't appear like he thinks he's a leading man. He's kind of just a bystander in his own life. He's like, I play golf well. That's what I do. I'm a Christian man. I believe in my faith. So he's putting golf so much in perspective that all the pressure that everyone else is putting on themselves, Scottie's just deflecting that stuff like this all the time. And he's like, look, I'm a good golfer, but I'm not necessarily the leading man right now. And I think that's really cunning on his behalf to sort of just alleviate some of the stress because today you could see he was stressed, but he wasn't panicked ever. And if you can go around your 4 rounds without some panic going on, you're going to be in good shape. I know that for certain. I've watched it happen in my family.
Those 3.5 strokes he lost with the putter, the 7th worst putting round of Scottie Scheffler's career, still very much in the mix. Pretty good way to do it. Jordan Spieth, yeah, we're at Augusta National, Mark. We've got to talk about Jordan, and it was the full Spieth experience on Thursday. He made a bunch of birdies. He made a mess of 11, ball in the water there. He made a mess of 13, double bogey, ball in the water there. This is the full Jordan Spieth experience en route to a 3 under 69, still very much in the mix.
Yeah. Look, as you know, I'm on the Amen Corner channel this week, and it's a special stretch of holes, and it's the kind of stretch of holes where if you play a couple holes even par and you make a birdie on 13, you're in good shape, right? So Jordan hits it in the middle of 11 fairway, tweaks one left, cardinal spin in the water, but makes a Spiethian type bogey. And I was like, all right, we're okay. Then on 13, hits a wide right tee shot in the pine straw, and we go to break, and we see the ball tumble down into the slide, downslope, pine straw. I'm like, layup. Next thing, he comes out there, and he's trying to fizz long iron out from there. And I'm like, this is asinine, Jordan. What are you doing? Your wedge game is that good. You pitch this back in the fairway. You wedge it on the green. You give yourself a look. And then he makes double, and he actually apologized on our show. I don't think you would have seen it on the main show, where after he hits the long iron in the water, the tributary to Rays Creek, he actually looked at Michael Greller and said, I'm sorry. So he apologized because clearly Greller disagreed with what he was doing. But anyway, to his credit, he bounces back with birdies on 15 and 16. So, look, he's still in the mix, but he cannot afford to make any sort of silly decisions like he did on 13 today. I can forgive the bad swing from the fairway on 11, but that decision on 13 was unforgivable. And I was somewhat surprised given how mentally acute he ordinarily is.
The way Michael Greller handed him the next golf ball looked a lot like "I told you so" in that moment. We'll end here with the guy trying to complete the career Grand Slam, Rory McIlroy, and with an opening even par 72 around Augusta National, he's not truly in the mix, 7 shots back. There's still 54 holes to go, but those opening round early slow starts for Rory continue to haunt him around this place.
Yes, I made the comment to Scott Verplank, who's part of one of our digital crews, digital feeds here at the Masters, and he's won on the PGA Tour a few times. And I was like, if you had said to Rory, look, he has 7 of your golf clubs, go play, he likely would have shot in the 60s because he's playing that well. And there was an element of I'm trying too hard, and you could see the frustration set in. But the reality of this is that he sort of got out with 72, and whereas I think he may be disappointed, he's looking at tomorrow and the potential weather as if to say, like this morning when the golf course was a bit more receptive, maybe I can just go out tomorrow and get this thing to 4 under par. And then you have yourself back in the mix because, look, all bets are off when it's over the weekend. Bob Jones said as much. If you're within 10, he believes you can win around here, and that is a truth. That's a truism. So for Rory, it's time just to sort of let it fly a little bit, not be rambunctious and hit silly shots, but be cautiously aggressive. And when you pick a when you pick a defensive target, make an aggressive swing. And when you pick an aggressive target, make sure that you commit to the club in your hand. None of this wishy-washy 50-50 stuff, because that's what I was seeing. And then you get the ball on the wrong side of a slope, and all of a sudden you make a soft bogey. So is today what he wanted? No, not by any stretch. But look, at least it wasn't like the 75s and 6s we've seen out of Rory in previous Masters.
All right, Mark, you've seen 18 holes of play. There's obviously still plenty to go, but I'm going to put your feet to the fire here. Who is going to don the green jacket come Sunday evening?
I've been saying this for the entire week, just the way Scottie Scheffler is playing. And this is with respect to the current guys. Because if you look at the leaderboard, it's like it's utter blue chip. You got Burns, you got Rahm, you got Adam Scott, you got Cameron Young, you got them all. They're all up there. So it's going to be a tussle. This is for certain. But I've been saying if you stay in front of Scottie Scheffler, you're going to win. And Scottie Scheffler just has to keep doing Scottie Scheffler stuff. He just looks like he's completely not unfazed, but he's okay with whatever happens. And that is one of the keys to success in golf, is to care enough not to care. And Scottie looks like he's somehow got that thing going on. Oh, and add to that, he's hitting the ball fantastically well and long. So the par fives are in order. So if he just continues to stack these simple 68s on top of each other, that'll be more than enough.
That's Mark Immelman. Mark, always appreciate the insight. If you appreciate this insight, you can get more of it on a near daily basis on the First Cut podcast, which is both on YouTube and anywhere you can get your podcast. This Masters conversation will continue right after these words.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, everyone.
Get breaking news,
blockbuster trade,
highlights, and instant reactions.
The largest final round comeback in Tour Championship history. We're down to the final four.
I just want to take time to analyze what we see in this greatness.
Certainly a tight contest going into the final minutes.
Big news coming out of the NFL today.
Talk winners and losers with a guy who's already a big winner.
CBS Sports HQ. It's all sports all day long.
Meanwhile, on Paramount Mountain.
Okay, we have the northern face, the southern face, and...
the Sylvester Stallone face. Of course.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Is that Dad? Yeah.
No, don't sneeze.
Oh, dear God, no.
Hold it.
Hold it.
Don't do it. Go. Ha! Gesundheit. Thank you. You're welcome.
Continued coverage of the Masters is presented by Mercedes-Benz. The vehicles are all electric. The feeling is all Mercedes. Viktor Hovland sure had the feel as he made his way around Augusta National in 7 under 65. Remember back in 2019, Hovland was welcomed into Butler Cabin alongside Tiger Woods as a low amateur that year. Today, the 25-year-old Norwegian took his first step back towards the cabin, again with Woods by his side. Through 18 holes, Hovland in a three-way tie atop the leaderboard at 7 under. Our in-depth coverage continues as we say hello again to the host of the First Cut podcast, Rick Gehman. Rick, let's start right there at the top of the leaderboard, specifically with Viktor Hovland. Interesting day here as he just methodically clipped birdie after birdie, avoided bogeys, put himself in the best situation to card the best score possible on this day. The game is there. We have answered that question. What about the mental? What about the guts that it's going to take here over the next 3 days to take on not just this field, but the weather that is also on the way?
It's certainly a great question, Joe, and I think I want to point out, obviously, it's a three-way tie at the top of the leaderboard. But as this day rolled on in real time, it felt like Viktor Hovland was playing a different golf course than everybody else. I mean, he was multiple shots clear of everybody seemingly the entire time that he was playing, which is a little bit scary when you look up at leaderboards and see yourself that far ahead, because your mentals immediately go to, oh boy, like there's a regression coming. I thought Viktor did a really nice job of continuing to keep his foot on the pedal and continuing to hold his breath. But now this is the tough part, right? Sleeping on the co-lead at the Masters is not easy for anyone. Luckily, Viktor is usually able to compartmentalize kind of what's going on the golf course and what's going on off the golf course. I think that when he steps inside the ropes and he starts playing, he's going to be just fine. He's going to be able to lean on Shea Knight, his caddy, as a voice of reason, and they're just going to go through their process. He's a very routine-oriented golfer, so I don't really have any concerns around the mental side of things leading into the final couple of days here. And then if it does start to get a little sloppy, start to get a little wet, hey, he's from Norway. He's certainly played plenty of golf in bad weather.
Well-known a mist as Viktor Hovland. We'll see how it all plays out throughout this week. He said pre-round that he was nervous to play alongside Tiger Woods, maybe leaned into those nerves, which is something he'll no doubt have to do here down the stretch. By some of the predictive metrics, despite being at the top of the leaderboard, others below him with a better projected chance to win. Scottie Scheffler, one of them, our defending champion, shoots the best opening round score by a defending champ since 2016. And I think it's more than fair to say he left a whole bunch out there, Rick. Do the numbers fit the ideal profile of a guy who is poised to just methodically climb his way to the top of the leaderboard and be there in the mix on Sunday?
The Scottie Scheffler opening round stat profile could not be any more beautiful for someone who is about to snap off and win this golf tournament. He lost 3.5 strokes putting on Thursday. It's the 7th worst putting round of his career. When you have your 7th worst putting round of your career, you should be packing your bags because you are going home very early. You are not sticking around to play much more golf. But if you're Scottie Scheffler and you're one of the best players from tee to green, you card a 4 under 68 and you're just 3 shots off the lead in your title defense at the Masters. It is an unbelievable accomplishment that he was able to post a 65, by far the worst score he could have possibly have shot on this Thursday. He was missing short putts. So many opportunities were given away. You could see the frustration on his face. I think after he has dinner and after he sits down and reflects on this round, he's going to be able to kind of forget about all that, realize he's just a couple of shots back. But this is from a statistical standpoint, Joe, about as good as it gets for someone who is still in contention here.
And there you see it, 68. I know you have Viktor Hovland on the mind at all times with that 65, Rick, but 68 here in the opening round for defending champion Scottie Scheffler, who's really on that line of demarcation. Every Masters champ since 2006 has been inside the top 11 after the first round. That line is 4 under in this given tournament. Let's talk about Rory McIlroy, because there wasn't a whole lot to talk about regarding Rory McIlroy on this day. 15th Masters appearance, the lone major that eludes him. Thursday's performance sort of suggesting we won't need to alert the Taylors until that next year at the earliest. Even par 72. On a day when they ran, he walked. I think that's fair to say. When you take stock of what McIlroy was able to do here, is this just, again, sort of a copy and paste year that we see time and again here at the Masters for McIlroy?
Unfortunately, that's a pretty accurate description, Joe. And I think that his round on Thursday was fair. It was fine. He technically gained strokes to the field with that even par 72. And unfortunately for Rory McIlroy, just gaining a little bit to the field's not going to get it done, especially as we got the best conditions that we are going to get all week long. Some of his peers who have plenty of major championship victories have gone out and separated themselves from him, and now he is playing catch up from a spot that you don't want to be. He told us earlier in the week that chasing at Augusta National is very difficult, and he's right, because when you start trying to bite off more than you can chew and you start trying to take on more reward and more risk at Augusta National, sometimes it just jumps up and bites back, and you start making bigger numbers. This is not a golf course that you want to chase on. It's why most of our champions are within the top 10 after the opening round. Rory McIlroy does not find himself there. So he's either going to have to kind of defeat history, not only in terms of chasing on a golf course that you shouldn't be chasing on, but trying to chase down being the 6th golfer to ever complete the career Grand Slam. There's just so much history on the line. Unfortunately, Rory has not played himself into it after 18 holes.
And there could not be a worse Masters to chase at. McIlroy looking at a trio of 65. The only other time that we had 3 players at 65 or better through 18 holes was 2020, our November Masters, when a scoring record was recorded. Rick Gehman, you know we're going to do it each and every day. We got to hold you to the fire here. Your pick to win the 87th Masters after 18 holes is who?
Yeah, I've certainly already alluded to this. He was my pick to win before the tournament started, and there's no reason to go away from it at this point. It's Scottie Scheffler. He has been the best tee to green player for 12 or 18 months. The floor for him is so incredibly high. We got a perfect example of that on Thursday. It is just a matter of if that flat stick is going to cooperate. And statistically, he's not going to putt as bad on Friday as he did on Thursday. He's probably not going to putt as bad as he did on Thursday, on Saturday, or Sunday. So that is all good stuff for Scottie Scheffler, and we don't have to worry about him waking up on Sunday morning this time around wondering if he's good enough to win the Masters like he told us he did last year. This time around, Joe, he knows he's good enough to win the Masters, and that is a very, very scary thought for the rest of the field.
And that is why you always listen to Rick Gehman on Tuesday. Rick, we'll see you for round 2. Appreciate you. And don't forget our guys breaking it down round by round, week by week on the premier pod in all of golf. It's the First Cut Podcast. Rick Gehman, Kyle Porter, the whole gang taking you under the ropes and into the action, including can't-miss live podcasts from the Masters. Paramount Plus.
We should go to the Super Bowl.
I'm in.
Inspired by a true story.
I'm taking this one. It's cute.
One trip.
Come on, ladies.
Can change your life.
I'm at a party with a bunch of kids.
I'm 36. I'm a man.
You're working on it.
Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Rita Moreno, and Sally Field.
This has been the best weekend of my whole life. Why is champagne such a violent beverage?
Baby for Brady. Rated PG-13. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
The UEFA Champions League on Paramount Plus. 9 months of heart-stopping, hold-your-breath exhilaration.
That's brilliant!
With more magic and more drama. While a former Bavarian nails the back of the net in Barcelona, an American trades his stars with zebra stripes, and a Norwegian creates sky blue spectacles. So stream every sweat-soaked second of regulation time, stoppage time, and extra time.
Beyond magnificent!
This is the best of the best of the best. This is the UEFA Champions League. Stream every match live, exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Meanwhile, on Paramount Mountain.
Okay, we have the northern face, the southern face, and...
the Sylvester Stallone face. Of course.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Is that Dad? Yeah.
No, don't sneeze.
Oh, dear God, no.
Hold it.
Hold it.
Don't do it. Don't. Ha! Gesundheit. Thank you. You're welcome.
It's a week we circle on our sporting calendars each and every year. The start of major season and the scent of spring's renewal. opening round of the 87th playing of the Masters did not disappoint. With greatness in the air, circles were the theme as the best in the world set a lofty precedent on Thursday. 88 players seeking their place in the history books. 2022 Masters champion Scottie Scheffler looking to become just the 4th player in history to successfully defend that jacket. Jack, Nick, Tiger, perhaps Scottie. And there is Jack, starting with our ceremonial tee shot from the 6-time champion, the greatest Masters champion, and hands raised just as they were in '86. Legends tend to be around every corner you look here at a place like this. Tiger Woods making his 25th Masters appearance. The 5-time champion could match Jack with a win. 22 straight made cuts at the tournament, including last year's gutsy effort, but it would take guts to get through this 18 as well. Woods a bogey there at the par 4 third. Now 2 over, we find him at the 7th hole, and that's a hard lip for another bogey. Moves to 3 over. Tiger turned in 38, but not giving in. Here at the par 5 15th from 27 feet. Left to right to the bottom. A birdie and a roar for Woods from those patrons. It's a 2 over 74 in round 1. It will take some work to make that cut come Friday. Viktor Hovland, his 4th career Masters appearance. Never finished better than 21st, but at it on all systems go Thursday. Par 5 second, the big bird, an eagle. Jumps him quickly to 2 under. Now at 4 under, the par 4 ninth, looking for more. From about 46, staring it up and down, and pulls the string on one to about 3 feet. Would make the birdie to turn in 5 under. Hovland on the second 9, efforting more. 37 feet, all sorts of break. Got it. To 6 under. He would birdie again at 13, a career low round in any major. 7 under, 65. The bar is set. Again, Scottie Scheffler looking to make it back-to-back. Walked out of Augusta in green a year ago, enters the same way. Here at the par 5 second, Scheffler from 199 to a kick-in eagle. Still got it. That syrupy stride, the native Texan, getting quite comfortable around these parts. Here at the par 4 ninth, Scheffler, again, just daring the edges of the greens. Makes another birdie there from 7 feet. A 4 under 68. Scottie did leave a few out there as well. Betters his 3 under 69 from his opening round a year ago. You know, this whole thing began as a celebration of amateurs around the game, and we still celebrate. 2022 amateur champion Sam Bennett hooping one at the par 5 second to move to 3 under in a hurry. Then at the par 3 sixth, Bennett from 23 feet to 4 under early. Bennett would finish right there at 4 under, but a heck of an opening round for the U.S. amateur champion from a year ago. Jon Rahm, only 3-time winner this season, but they all came early, has since cooled. And a cold start for Rahmbo. That was a par putt from 8 feet. Here the bogey coming back. A 4-putt double for Jon Rahm. 2 over right out of the gates, but Rahm would bounce back. Grinded his way to even par and then back to red numbers at the par 4 7th. Rahm keeping it rolling here at the par 5 8th from 249. Imagination required around this plot of land, and a whole bunch of it in that one. Good and getting better. Rahm, a double circle, another eagle. Moves to 3 under. Started with a double, and here he is. Working his way into the mix. Almost holes one from the backside of number 15, where big numbers are made. Instead, another birdie for Rahm to 5 under. Now at the closing hole, his approach from a buck 52. A birdie at the last would get him to 7 under and into a tie for the lead. Lowest score in any round in Masters history after starting with a double bogey or worse. Jon Rahm making things difficult on himself, but he likes it. How about Brooks Koepka? Missed the cut in his last 2 Masters appearances, but back in full health. Best finished T2 back in 2019 when Tiger went on to win there at Golden Bell. Cards a circle of his own to get to 5 under. Then the par 4 17th, Koepka from 17 feet. His yellows were not matching, but all of the shots were. To 6 under. Could he make it back-to-back coming home from a buck 52? Another birdie opportunity, and one he would execute. 7 under for Brooks Koepka as well, into a 3-way tie atop the leaderboard through 18 holes. Jon Rahm, Viktor Hovland, and Brooks Koepka matching 7 under 65, your co-leaders after round 1. As we take a look at that leaderboard, some other notables not on the first page. Jordan Spieth, T13 at 3 under after a 69. Could have been better as well. Justin Thomas would tell you the same after his 2 under 70. And if history tells us anything, the champion likely to come from this first page of the leaderboard. Get up early, have some coffee. Friday tee times moves up 30 minutes due to some inclement weather on the way. Let's hear from our leaders, beginning with Viktor Hovland and his thoughts to begin the day.
When Shea told me on the practice area, because I wasn't on my phone checking it, and when he said we were paired with Tiger, my heart kind of went a little bit further up in the throat, and I just noticed, wow, this is going to be exciting. Heart rate started going up, but after that, I calmed myself down and just kind of thought this is going to be very exciting. You got to just embrace it. You can't be scared or anything like that. If you want to win this tournament, you can't be scared about playing with Tiger, so you just got to overcome things like that.
What were you thinking after you were walking off that first green?
You know, a couple different things. If you're going to make a double or 4-putt or anything, might as well be the first hole, right? I got 71 holes to make it up. After that, it was more... I was focused on the fact that all the strokes were good. The reads were good. The roll was good. Obviously, the speed was off on the first 2 putts. So once I kind of accepted that there was nothing really to look into, I just got to work. I had 17 holes to make up. And I've always told Adam, and I tell a lot of people that ask me about the Masters, if you can somehow make it through the first 6.5 holes, and what I mean is putting the ball in the fairway on 7, and you're around even par, I think it's a pretty good start.
Looks like a lot of great athletes you've used doubts or slights or chips on your shoulder to reach the pinnacle of the sport. What's your motivation now?
Honestly, I just think of all those hard times. Think of the lady Heather that was doing my rehab, just to play Augusta in 21. Ricky was with me. I just remember biting down on a towel and tears were coming down my eyes as she was trying to bend the knee. So I figure if I can go through that, I can go through anything. I don't really think about it as just a major. It's Augusta National, so it's a Masters. You better show up. I just count out the last 2 years, not feeling good. But yeah, if you win, you're fine.
We are in store for a show in the days to come. Historical scoring here on Thursday. A trio of opening round 65s only happened once before. That was the 2020 November Masters, in which scoring records fell.